Hi there, this is Andrew from LaptopReviews.com, and I have here with me today the ThinkPad X1 Carbon here on the left hand side, and then on the right is the ThinkPad X220, which is what I use as my everyday laptop. I just wanted to compare and contrast these laptops a bit, as these are two ultra portables from Lenovo. The X1 Carbon being the most recent release. The X220 has been replaced by the X230 in the X series, but it's a popular series. It's been around for a long time, and if you're shopping for Lenovo ThinkPads, you might be looking at either of these, so more information would be helpful. So to start, the 14-inch screen on the X1 Carbon is certainly larger than the 12.5-inch screen you get on the X220. The maximum resolution you can get on the X220 screen is 1366 by 768, whereas the max resolution and the standard resolution on the X1 Carbon is 1600 by 900. As far as keyboards go, well, the X220 has the old style ThinkPad keyboard. The X230 has been updated to have the same keyboard as what you see here on the X1 Carbon, which is a 6-row chiclet style design. The X220 has a 7-row just standard keyboard design. So you can actually no longer purchase that, so really what you'll be looking at is the ThinkPad X230 with the same keyboard as what you get on the X1 Carbon here. Now, one big advantage the X1 Carbon has is that the touchpad here is a glass surface touchpad. It's very easy to slide your finger across, very large, and it's a click pad, so you can click anywhere to register a click. Over on the X220, it's a much smaller size touchpad. It is also a click pad. You can click down anywhere, but it just doesn't feel as nice. It's not bad. It sort of has a textured surface, so you can easily feel where you are, but it just doesn't glide as easily as what you get on the X1 Carbon, which is really a standout touchpad. Another thing we should certainly compare is the thickness of these, so and overall footprint. So if we look from up above, well, first of all, let's just do a thickness comparison since we're here on the sides, and you'll see that the X1 Carbon, being 0.7 inches thin, is much thinner than what you get with the inch over inch thick X220, or same as what you would get on the X230. So the X1 Carbon is a much thinner laptop. From above, you can see that the footprint of the X1 Carbon is larger than that of the X220, but given that it's a 14-inch laptop, you would expect that, and it's not a whole lot bigger, really. Now, the weights are where you really can tell a difference here, and I'm going to attempt to weigh these on my kind of chintzy kitchen scale. So first of all, I need to unplug them. So let's see, I'm going to put the X1 Carbon on. It weighs in at just under 3 pounds. And then my X220 over here, remember it's a larger screen, or smaller screen, 12 inches. It's going to weigh in at 3.35 pounds. So despite having a smaller screen and smaller footprint, the X220 actually weighs more than the X1. So let's take a look at the ports you get on these now. The left side of the X220 has a VGA monitor out port, and then a display port, and then USB 2.0 wireless on-off switch, and then you have an express card slot here. Meanwhile, over on the X1 Carbon, you just get the power jack, a USB 3.0, and then wireless on-off switch. There is nothing on the front of the X1. It's too thin, so we just rotate right around to the right side. And same deal with the X220. There's nothing on the front. You have to rotate around to the right side. So you get a media card reader, USB 2.0 powered port, and then Ethernet port. And then on the right side of the X1 Carbon, you get a media card reader, mini display port, dual headphone microphone jack, and then a USB 3.0 port. One benefit that the X220 has, or X230 would have over the X1 Carbon, is you can easily remove the hard drive. You cannot access the drive on the X1. It's an SSD that's sealed inside. Now, if I just kind of show you the bottom here, you can see that it's all sealed. There's no way to get in there, so you're really not going to be able to upgrade the X1 Carbon at all. Meanwhile, with the X220, you can easily access the panel here by taking off a few screws, and the battery is removable, and it's just really easy to upgrade, and Lenovo makes sure that there's lots of documentation out there so you can easily do that. So really the advantage of the X1 over the X220 or X230 is the fact that it's more portable. It's got a larger screen, higher resolution, and is just really premium design. It has a carbon finish that's just rock solid. Meanwhile, on the X220, it's a magnesium finish, and it's solid, but it doesn't feel quite that same solidness, and it just doesn't have the same feel and niceness to it that the carbon does have. The one disadvantage to the carbon that is worth mentioning is that it has an undervolted processor. So if you really want the standard voltage processor that you would get in the X series, then you would need to you would just be out of luck. Basically, the X series has a fully fledged Core i7 Core i5 processor, whereas the X1 Carbon does not. It has an undervolted Core i5 or Core i7 processor. So overall, these are both two really nice laptops, but of course you got to have the bucks to be able to afford the X1 Carbon. It starts at around $12.99, and that's with the minimum 128 gigabyte SSD. Many people probably want the 256 gigabyte one. The X220 or 230, meanwhile, comes with a regular hard drive, and you can put it in MSATA SSD to help speed it up, or just put in dedicated SSD if you want to. So it's certainly more configurable, more upgradable. So you just have to decide what's more important to you. Is that ease of upgrades, ability to replace battery, standard voltage processor, and the X230 or X220 would be it. Whereas the X1 Carbon, you get the more premium design, lighter weight, excellent portability, larger screen, and just overall nicer looking, nicer feeling laptop. And then maybe you would go with that.